industrial track. We have 3 panelists and the moderator. Let me introduce the panelists. From Sony Group Corporation, Mr. Hiroyuki Tezuka, researcher, and from Tokyo Electron, Mr. Akihisa Sekiguchi, and from Mitsubishi Electric Corporation, we have Mr. Kenzo Makino, the chief researcher, and the moderator is Mr. Watanabe from Boston Consulting Group. Now, Mr. Watanabe, you have the floor. Thank you very much. It is my honor for me to serve as moderator today. I'm Watanabe. This is right after lunch. So, as usual, you may feel sleepy, so we'll make sure that we will speak loud and high. Now, as the facilitator introduced, but I'd like to ask each panelist to introduce yourself very briefly. The first question is your organization and your job, what you are working on now in your organization. And the second question is, what made you involved in quantum computing? So let's start with Mr. Tezuka. I am Tezuka from Sony Group Corporation. Technology Infrastructure Center has Advanced Research Division, and I belong to that division and working on quantum computing research. We have a broad range of business portfolio, and our team is expected to develop the platform or basic technology which will help the entire group to differentiate. As you know, AI is having a strong impact on almost all areas, but still, because of computational cost, we still cannot do what we want to do in many cases yet. And as a breakthrough, I understand that a quantum computing could bring about a major breakthrough. That's why we are working on this area. And why I started to be involved in quantum computing. Since 2020, we have joined the Keio University's Quantum Computing Center. And then there was an internal posting looking for a researcher to join. And I volunteered. I raised my hand. Thank you for this opportunity today. Okay, so it was internal posting. You voluntarily raised your hand. Yes, I did. That's great. Then Mr. Sekiguchi, please. Yes, thank you. And
to the organizers, Kinesis in particular, for inviting us to be on this panel. It's a great honor to be here today. That's the extent of English I'll be speaking, so I'll switch over to Japanese. Tokyo Electron 株式
I'm Sekiguchi from Tokyo Electron. Thank you for this opportunity. Tokyo Electron, you might not be very familiar with this company compared to Mitsubishi or Sony in relative terms. A semiconductor device. For manufacturing of semiconductor devices, you need semiconductor equipment, and we develop, manufacture, and sell those semiconductor equipments as well as after-sales service. My role is a part of the headquarters. We have corporate innovation headquarters, and I am a fellow at that corporate innovation headquarters, which is part of the corporate organization, and I also used to serve as an officer in charge. Now, what are we working on right now? Consortium, for example, in Belgium, IMEC is a semiconductor-related consortium based in Belgium, and I work as an executive liaison with IMEC. Another example is in New York, Alba, there is an IBM-led consortium. There, we work on R&D for high-performance computing, AI, and very recently, quantum has been also added to the portfolio of the work at that consortium. So the second question is why or how I got involved in this area. It's a complicated story with multiple elements. But to name first, quantum there is a lady in my organization, actually Dr. Hayashi, which is sitting in the front row, has been involved in quantum marketing. And since over 5 years ago, she has been speaking about quantum. And that encouraged me to take a serious look at this area. And also, I have had long ties with IBM. I came from IBM as well. And back then, most of the people who were working on semiconductor have now shifted to quantum area. So, and then friends of mine are now in VP positions of quantum area, and those people said that the next thing will be quantum, you have to do that. And another thing is quantum supremacy. Google and IBM made a lot of headlines over quantum supremacy. That was also rated. And recently, we see more accurate hardware roadmap. Next year, how many bits will be realized with improved performance, not just from IBM, but with, for example, a trapped ion system. We heard similar roadmaps yesterday. So all these things combined compelled me to be involved in quantum area. Thank you very much. So, Tezuka-san, your network of people actually prompted you to start work on this area. That was quite impressive. I'm Makino from Mitsubishi Electric, and I belong to Advanced Technology Research Center. And our research center work on development of new products or development of basic technology, platform technology, as well as some emerging technologies which will pave the way for the future success. And my specialty is sensor, for example, automotive, transportation. I work to develop sensors for those areas. And when and how I came involved in quantum computing. About 5 years ago, the quantum computing became quite popular and people were talking about quantum in this company. And actually, I used to research on quantum computing when I was a student, and that's why I became involved in this area. Thank you very much. Now, next question. What exactly are you doing in your organization in the context of quantum computing or quantum technology? So let's start with the opposite order. I understand that there are some confidential secrets that you cannot specify. That is fine. Please share as much as you can do. Okay. For a practical application of quantum computing in the future, we are now exploring how that can be used for a business. But still, we are in the basic phase. There's annealing technology which specializes on the combination optimization, while we also have universal one. And the Mitsubishi Electric Corporation have some computation problems where quantum can be effective. So currently, we are using cloud size, solving some sample programs to identify the issues for practical application. And in R&D phase, it can be used to accelerate and speed up machine learning. We are also working on that use case. Thank you very much. Now, Sekiguchi-san, I know your position, but if you could share your ideas as much as possible, that would be great. Yes, but we are still in a very initial phase of quantum R&D. So we do not have any secrets that we have to hide in that sense. As Fujitsu mentioned in their presentation, we have some collaborations underway, although which we have not advertised about. We do have collaborations. But we make semiconductor manufacturing equipment. Then, are we going to quantum computing manufacturing equipment? We are not arrived to that stage. Our current focus is the end user. From end user's point of view, when quantum technology becomes ready, then what do we have to do for the end users? That is the perspective we are taking as we currently work on quantum technology.
So one point is that in this industry, there have been various simulations. It's not just a digital transformation, but digitalization has been quite advancing. And digital twin generation is also one of the topics to be applied in for instance, semiconductor manufacturing devices. And if we talk more about semiconductor manufacturing devices, it will take 1 hour. But there is a box, and then we have a so-called chamber scale, the centimeter type of size, and wafers are transacted, and then the gas is flown, and there will be an air flow, and we make operation. And the silicon wafer is the main one, and we process the surface. And during that process, what kind of chemical reactions are taking place in the air? If we try to do everything in simulation, then starting from the units of centimeters, when we consider a surface chemical reaction, we have to operate everything. And also, so-called self-consistent manner, we need to get a solution. So for classical computers, even if for supercomputers, it's just impossible to compute. But there is lots of needs to do that. So it is a kind of a holy grail in English. So once it becomes available, then the efficiency in the industry will be leaping up, as well as R&D speed, and also cost will be reduced. Therefore, in that sense, there is a high expectation for quantum. Thank you very much. So everything in different scales have to be handled at one time. So if we receive such a consultation as a consultant, it's going to be quite challenging. So at the moment, we have been connecting all those different scale items, and which algorithms to be replaced by quantum, and which ones to be handled by classical systems for speed and efficiency. We need the optimal combination of these two, and how to incorporate the quantum. That's our current challenge. Thank you very much. Now, Tezuka-san, thank you for waiting. Yes, in our company, we have several initiatives undergoing. Talking about myself, in the near future, in a practical application, I have been engaged in the algorithm for quantum computing, especially quantum machine learning is my main topic of research. And when we consider real-time use, real-world use, it's not just the speed, but overall workflow should be considered, and effectively the quantum computing has to be incorporated. So from different perspectives, we have been conducting researches. And the good use cases, what will they be? So rather than not prefixing the potential use cases, we have rather broad eyes, and so that we'll be able to find good use cases. Are there any cases that you'll be able to share more concretely, like any cases that you are confident, or any specific ones that you can share? Well, at the time that I joined Keio University, and I was engaged in research in the topic of how to input information in quantum computing, and I was engaged in algorithms to do so. And when we develop algorithms, we try to focus on the core part. However, huge amount of data and information, how to input them, those are not truly researched. And there are several companies conducting a joint research at KO, and how we'll be able to implement it. I have experienced those joint research activities, and under certain conditions compared to the prior arts, there has been a way found to enable exponential faster speed processing. So that's my experience. Thank you very much. So now I'd like to talk more about what you find as a result of your actual experience. At Keio University, Tezuka mentioned that several companies come together and you have some joint activities. And also, actual machines are available at Keio as well. So if there's any findings that, as you have worked at the Keio, any fresh impressions? Well, when we consider the use of actual machine, there are actually several hurdles. And it's been about 3 years that our company has been working with KO, performance of actual machine, and also the actual implementation environment has been advancing. Therefore, I think step by step we have been coming closer to the social implementation. However, at the present time, if we try to make use of quantum computing, we need broad and deep knowledge and expertise. And which issues to be solved, we need to consider the advantages and disadvantages of quantum computing. And even if we come up with an algorithm, how to put it and run it on the actual machine, there are still the hurdles to overcome when we try to take actual steps. And in reality, it is rather difficult for a single company to do everything on its own. Therefore, amongst the different companies, we need to exchange findings, knowledges, and also we need to leverage the consortium in an effective manner. That's very important. And yesterday, there have been presentations by startups. And as this industry gets more mature, then I think sometime in the future, we won't have to be concerned about the details. However, thinking about early adapters, we need to have a wide horizontal connection amongst the players. That's quite important to make a true advancement in this field. Thank you very much. Makino-san. So we need to make use of others' capabilities. And you have some joint researches with Kinesis. As much as you can you share some information? Yes, with Kinesis, we have joint researches ongoing. In 2022, Mitsubishi Electric Group and the startup NEC Innovation Fund was established as a bridge between these two, and the promising startups. We wanted to work with them to co-create something so that we'll be able to implement the next generation technology in the society. And Kinesis is the route for us to conduct joint research and research design. That is to make use of the existing researches and actual current quantum issues are to be identified, and we deep dive and have hard discussions with them on those concrete issues. And we truly had a hard discussion together, and we have now reliability, confidence each other, trust each other, and that was a trigger for us to go more into our joint researches. Which concrete topics or themes that you have been jointly researching, and are there any fruits generated. Sorry, that's still secret. Therefore, I cannot disclose any concrete matters. But quantum circuit, quantum algorithms, there are many black boxes. And those black boxes are to be opened one by one. And that is something that we have been doing jointly. I just consider listening to your comments that when you try to make use of others' capabilities, what could be advices to others that you happen to go well in your experiences so far, or you have any pitfalls? Well, still, this quantum technology is in its own way of advancement. Therefore, there are limitations. I have been involved in information processing using quantum, and I understand that that's quite challenging. And that difficulty has been shared as a perception. Therefore, I think without falling into the pitfalls, we have been jointly researching well. Now, Sekiguchi-san, I think you have been also promoting your preparations. That is probably to raise literacies, giving trainings to your employees. So seriously, you believing in that sometime in the future it will become available. But my impression is that there aren't many companies in the society to truly believe in this will become available sometime in the future. So what's the background idea that you made such a judgment or forecast? Well, as I mentioned earlier, digital twin will be necessary, and our peer companies have also those initiatives, and I think everyone is doing something similar. So what's the bottleneck? What can be done? What cannot be done? To some degrees, I think we do have a shared knowledge, and classical ways we can do some, but we cannot do some others. So what about quantum? Making use of quantum technology, this couldn't be solved in the past, but now it could be solved. And when it's found, we have to be ready. Otherwise, the others will run ahead. So the semiconductor designs, R&D ratio is quite high in terms of the money spent. It's about 10 to 15% of the total revenue to be invested in R&D. Otherwise, we will lag behind.
In our case, we spent over 200 billion yen on R&D. However, that investment could be lost if we mishandle this quantum possibility. So that kind of sense of crisis had urged us to take an action. Okay, so in terms of raising people's awareness and providing a training, do you have any milestone or targets with time frame? We were quite relaxed in the beginning based on the hardware roadmap. Okay, 2030 could be our target, but it's been already 3 to 4 years. So, but then the error mitigation came up and many new developments came up and the technology became more realistic. I felt that even as an amateur person. So then we thought that we cannot take 10 years to develop and nurture programmers. We have about 18,000 employees. And there are many people who do programming and simulation. Core competency. We need to have core competency within our organization. Otherwise, even if we want to work with startups, we will not be able to see whether what they are pitching is actually valid or not. So we need to hire or internally develop experts in our own organization. We felt that way. And it's not about raising 1 or 2 people. because we make wide variety of equipment over distributed sites. We have Kyushu, Yamanashi, Tohoku, Northern Japan, and software development team is located in Sapporo. We are a highly distributed organization, which means that we need certain number of people who can understand quantum algorithms and quantum technology. At least a 2-digit people we need at each site. People who can understand whether what startups are saying is valid or not. Then how many years can we spend to organize such workforce? At least 3 years. Within 3 years, we have to prepare our workforce to that level. Personally, I feel that is our time frame. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. R&D focus is different from other companies in your case, and you have specific problem you want to solve, and based on when the problem can be solved, you counted backwards and started to prepare. And another perspective is what you expect from your internal workforce. I understand that you have very clear criteria of knowledge that you require from internal workforce. But our reality is not perfect, which I can share later, but I think you grasp my point. Now let me turn to Mr. Sekiguchi. Quantum technology is quite uncertain. We don't know when it will be realized. And you have experience in machine learning and other things. So how do you think that you can come to terms with this kind of highly uncertain technology, uncertain in terms of the time frame for realization? Well, in case of other technologies, customers' roadmaps or the industry's published roadmaps will give enough information to foresee. For example, this technology will realize in a few years, or this will not materialize anymore. You can make that kind of judgment based on the roadmaps. But for quantum, we don't have such roadmaps. And there are only a handful of partners. We talked to QCR and IBM as well, but there are only a handful of partners who have that level of specific vision for the futures. So we talk to them and need to foresee the future developments. But the evolution is very fast, while it is extremely difficult to acquire information. That's the challenge in quantum, because there are so many startups, so a breakthrough technology might have been realized already at a normal room temperature, maybe achieving over 1 million bits. That may be coming, but not on our radar. That's the situation we want to avoid. And we are engaging in a kind of information warfare where we are trying to capture that kind of information. So at this kind of forum, we try to chat with people to gather information. Otherwise, we could just left behind. Okay, thank you very much. Now the dots are getting connected in a beautiful manner. We have 10 minutes left. Now let's turn to the future. And what would you like to work on going forward? Or what ideas do you have for the future? Makino-san, could you start? That's a difficult question. Future outlook. Okay. As quantum, we'd like to contribute to the development of quantum computing, and we can do so from various perspectives, end users' perspectives, or as a provider, or as a bridge between service and users. There will be different phases where we can contribute. That, and in terms of software, we see far into the future. And then backcasting from that, we'd like to identify what machines and technologies we will need. Then we can collaborate with others, or maybe professors or experts. So we really do the legwork to gather information to win the information warfare. Thank you very much. No one has a crystal ball about the future of quantum, but for example, once we have fault tolerance realized, but before achieving FTQC, during NISQ phase, do you think that there are any critical initiatives you have to do with NISQ so that you can be a winner when FTQC become available? Any advice to the audience? Okay, whether NISQ can be a make or break stage or not, that is a dividing question. But at least I can say that finding good use cases and good applications will be important. And how can we find them? Personally speaking, backgrounds, people of diverse backgrounds to be put in a team will be critical. Or classical computing and quantum computing, it's better to know both so that you can identify which problem or computation fits quantum more. Thank you very much. And I'm taking the role of devil here, but there are no major algorithms which fits well with quantum computing. How do you see this situation about algorithm? Yes, when it comes to famous algorithms, that's right. But we heard something about we heard certain algorithms yesterday, and there are some algorithms that worth attention. Last year, Google, for example, for a property calculation or structural calculation, last year Google reported that applying quantum computing to those algorithms that will accelerate the speed first. Or NTT's case last year, the evaluation of function for a cryptography also fits the quantum computing. The NTT put out a report on that topic. So gradually we see more things getting visible. And in particular, there's one thing researchers are paying attention to right now. Data structure, whether the data structure matches the characteristics of quantum computing is also an important question, which means we can say that, okay, it is case by case, but as a flip side of the coin, I understand that the industry have a whole lot of use cases in that sense, and industry will have a great roles to play in terms of use cases.
Thank you. How about you, Sekiguchi-san? So knowing those situations, and as an R&D, you bet quantum computing making investment over 10 times more than the conventional one, then what would be the point for you to make such a decision? I think probably the answer that you will give today will be different from the yesterday's. And what I feel listening to the discussions at the academic society is that making use of quantum will make things better at exponential level, but it's not really the case. And even if it is just a several percentage improvement, that improvement is valuable. That's what I heard. And in the manufacturing industries, if the yield goes up by several percentage, then it will be leading to the tens of billions of yen. So since a certain issue cannot be solved to make an improvement at the very high speed, like exponential advancement, then it's not really something that we make a decision, or it's not because of the hardware. So I think, to be honest, it is becoming more difficult to make judgment or decision. But for instance, we do have a roadmap, and such and such hardware will be coming at each timing, and in each use case we need to consider scalability, and when something happens, then we should do such and such. We need to prepare those plans, and once the time comes, then we should be ready to make a goal. So I think that's probably the tactics that we need to take. Thank you. So my impression, having heard you, is that various machine learnings or various other industries compared to those, I think you have been engaged in quantum and you have been quite specialized. Therefore, what is the user's issues? What will be the points that user will be glad to see just a several percentage improvement? So I think the three speakers here are from the users' positions, and I think if you can speak more about the specific cases, then I think it will be quite useful for the total industry. So here, service providers, software providers, or those who are engaged in algorithm development, or there may be some students in the audience. So to anyone, if you have any comments or requests, please, may we start with Makino-san? Yes, my request is to be user-friendly. So I think the environment which is benign to the users should be adopted. For instance, benchmarking. If it could be more standardized, it could be more commonly shared, that would be great. Sekiguchi-san, please. Well, I have a similar request. Quantum alone cannot solve everything. Therefore, as an end user, what we request to the partner is which one to be solved by classicals, which ones by quantum, and what kind of combination will provide the optimal solutions. I wish service providers making use of this with a good understanding of those, because such and such, this has to be the areas that the classical computing is adopted, some others because of such and such reasons that the quantum computing should be adopted, and that way I think having a good understanding of those, I wish the providers or partners will increase in that sense. So you request the common understanding on the side of the partners as well. Yes, that's what my request. Not just totally reliant on our side. I think personally, hardware advancement is quite promising and exciting, especially in the era the qualification system. I think analog approach will be the key. And in Japan, there are core analog technologies collected. Therefore, making use of them, I think we'll be able to support and back up the global quantum technology advancement. And if we'll be able to support others, then I think as Japan, we'll be able to also see a very good advancement in this field. Thank you very much. Well, personally, I could also hear the areas that I was so much interested in from you. Thank you very much for your contribution to all the panelists. Thank you.